Edwin Von Godfrey. Coming up next, we got Fr0zen versus PNC. As Fr0zen is doing pretty decently, I'd say, in Grandmasters, pretty well. PNC, on the other hand, he is yet another candidate for relegations. The tale of two stories here in Hearthstone Grandmasters. Who is going to playoffs and who is going to be ineligible to even try to qualify for playoffs in the future when they get relegated.
The tale of two tales. That's right.
The two tales of tales.
That's right. PNC bringing Bomb Warrior. The Latin American crew, they're all bringing Bomb Warrior, and they're all bringing the Malagos Druid with King Feoris, which is very interesting. Bomb Warrior makes a lot of sense. Given how combo-heavy the metagame was last week. And still, to an extent, is. I think it was more... No, it's way more this week. There's less Holy Wrath Paladins because of the Mech Paladins, but there's way more Malagos Druids. So, of course, the combo deck, what does a combo deck want to do? They want to draw cards. They want to draw the bottom of their deck to find their combo.
Protect Mech Paladin, DJ.
Against Holy Wrath Paladin, Control Warrior, Priest, and Shaman. And he decided to ban away the Druid. Wait, what? Oh, no, he decided to ban away the Shaman.
So Fr0zen protected Priest, banned Druid, and then PNC protected Mech Paladin, banned Quest Shaman. That might make sense if Fr0zen has Silence in his Shaman deck.
He does not. Doesn't even have Plague of Murlocs.
He's got Acidic Swamp Ooze as that flex spot.
So I like the Mech Paladin against Warrior. And it is pretty good against Paladin just because it's super resilient. It's very difficult for them to deal with Mechano Eggs.
The Shaman makes sense then.
The Shaman makes sense.
Also because you heard what they said last week, which was that Nalgidon believes that Quest Shaman just can play control against Mech Paladin and then just outlast it.
Well,
that's what he thinks.
Yes, it is. But without Earthshock or Plague of Murlocs,
it becomes a lot harder.
You don't often have the luxury of playing control, right? They're just going to kill you because you don't. As Quest Shaman, you often don't deal with their first mech. You don't deal with their first big mech.
Or their second.
Their second one you can, but not the first one. And likely there's not a second one if there's a big first one, right? Because they just have really outside of Ethereal Lackey no way to interact.
Now the second one's the Faceless Manipulator.
The second one's the Faceless Manipulator. Yeah, but Nalgidon last week would have lost the game if he didn't pick up Earthshock. And Fr0zen doesn't have Earthshock, so Fr0zen doesn't really have that luxury. So I guess against the other decks in PNC's lineup, it's good. Like, I think that Quest Shaman probably does well against Bomb Warrior, though.
Hard to say, because we haven't seen the matchups in a bit. And Bomb Warrior has gone through some iterations. Right now, there's an aggressive Highlander Bomb Warrior that's actually making its way through ladder. And I can't help but feel that this is just Warrior cards being played against me. It just does not win.
That's what Highlander Warrior is.
Warrior cards.
It's just Warrior cards.
It
30 of them and a Zephyrs.
It felt like a very mishmash set of strategies out there, and some players chose to play tempo aggressive decks with Bloodsworn Mercenary and a bunch of rush minions. Some choose to play Control Warrior, some choose to play Bomb Warrior, and some choose to just throw everything in the mix plus Zephyrs and hope that it works together. That being said, that's the extent of my experience of Bomb Warrior on ladder. Even then, they drew really well. They drew Town Crier / Eternium Rover, and then they had Clockwork Goblin, then Wrench Caliber, and then they started playing other rush minions in charge, like a Korkron Elite. They had all of that, but I had a single Flak Mage and Flame Ward, so I beat them.
Where did the Zephyrs come in?
Oh, they didn't play Zephyrs. They didn't draw it.
How did you know it was Highlander Warrior?
Oh, it was because they played like Tiamat and like other stuff that you would heavily imply. Like they played Sandbinder into Tiamat.
Oh,
come on, that's a Highlander deck, TJ.
Unless they were playing it because they had another elemental in the deck.
Like what? Like Mountain Giant?
Yeah.
With the 2 cards are holding every turn in their hand because they're just playing everything that's green?
I don't even know. Like I can't even off the top of my head name you another non-class elemental because there just are no non-class elementals outside of Zephyrs and Tiamat that are played in the current metagame.
Well, either way, PNC is
Meching it
he's
up.
underwater, and he is going to turn to Mech Paladin as his lifeboat. You like that, TJ?
Yes, but mechs and water don't usually mix well.
How do you know? What if it's a water-resistant mech?
Go drop your phone in the toilet and tell me what happens.
I will bet you any amount of money that I drop my phone in the toilet and it will work right after.
I would pay $2 just to see you drop your phone and take it out of the toilet, even if it works.
The question is, did you go to the toilet today?
Many times.
Right.
Many,
in that
many
case,
times.
keep your $2. It's not worth it. Fr0zen's going to turn to the combo priest to try and take down this mech paladin, so we get to see who is right. Is it the bring the good stuff, bring the priest, protect the priest, play the priest, or is it the unique strategies? I'm not going to lie, I'm usually a Fr0zen fan, and I like to root for him a lot. Today, I kind of want him to lose. I want to see some mech paladin crushing. Mainly because I'm a big fan of the Big Daddy Glowstone Technician, which PNC mulliganed away. Never mind, I don't want PNC.
We did test this matchup, I would say extensively, but it wasn't that extensive.
I would say that this matchup is horrendous for Mech Paladin.
Dan was playing the Mech Paladin, I was playing the Priest. Granted, whenever I play Priest in any of our practice sessions, no matter who I'm playing against, whether it's Dan, whether it's Sottle, whether it's Nathan, whenever I play Priest, I draw the nuts every single game. I can't help it.
TJ always starts with Cleric on 1 and Tol'Vir on 2, or some variation thereof to protect the Cleric.
Or if I don't get Cleric, I start with the other hand that kills my opponent.
The Light Warden.
For some reason in practice, I just can't draw poorly with Priest. And so I was crushing it. But I've been playing Mech Paladin a lot on ladder. I'm reasonably high ranked. I'm in the top 20 right now.
Wait, you're top 10 legend all week, reasonably ranked? There's not much more room to go up,
The ladder
TJ.
incentives have not been implemented yet, which means
Yeah, ladder is
isn't
soft.
It's pretty soft.
Must move quickly.
I'm like the way you're approaching this explanation storytelling. TJ.
Yes.
It's soft.
It is pretty soft.
TJ, let me break down what actually happened.
So unless you're top 2, I wouldn't consider it a fantastic.
Literally,
ladder
only
ranking.
2 players.
Only 2 players have
in
a
the
fantastic
entire
ladder
region
rank.
get
Yes.
to say that they feel like they are high
All right,
ranked.
for Europe, top 10. For America's top 2. I am holding a slightly above 50% win rate against Priest.
With Mech Paladin.
With Mech Paladin. I do it by being very greedy. I only extend onto the board when my opponent misses a 1-drop, and I just look for skater bots and try and make a big, giant mech in the mid-game and hope they don't have silence.
All right, well, let me tell you this other version of the story.
Where I just start with Cleric on 1.
TJ starts with Cleric on 1 every single time. And TJ loves playtesting, and TJ also really loves pissing off Admirable.
That's not true. Sottle, yes. Admirable, no.
TJ really likes annoying Sottle a lot. And it's without fail, TJ somehow keeps enraging Sottle and Admirable every time we practice because he draws really good hands. And it gets to the point where literally Admirable is rage quitting our practice sessions because he's so upset by the fact that TJ gets the optimal hands and he says, in his words, it's bad practice because we're not seeing how games pan out on average. Therefore, we can't cast anything except, well, Priest drew Divine Spirit and Inner Fire, I guess. And that led to some heated moments leading up to today's broadcast where both of us were wondering whether or not Sottle would make that alive.
I can't help drawing well.
No, you can't. And, you know, I think everyone has valid arguments. I think, you know, Sottle wants to play the games where things are really one-sided. Admirable wants to be more time efficient because we don't have that much time to practice all the time. And TJ just wants to dunk some noobs. So everybody has
no,
a good point.
I want to keep practicing until I don't dunk noobs, so I get good practice out of it too. That's what I want.
I wonder.
So an aggressive skater bot usage early on.
By PNC.
Yes, this lines up well into him being able to annoy a module next turn and kill this injured Tolvir if it gets healed up. Any other situation, I wouldn't agree with the skater bot usage because I feel like that's just such a crucial tool for being able to fight back for board. But the way this board is panned out, the way Fr0zen aggressively circled healing to keep this injured Tolvir alive, when your opponent does that, it means they really want this to live because they have follow-up. And so PNC, thinking that, he's like, well, if he really wants this to live, I better do as much damage as possible so I have the best chance of killing him next turn. Makes sense. Also, PNC's hand is just bad. He has 2 Faceless Manipulators in a matchup where you have to aggressively fight for board. And Faceless Manipulator often doesn't have fantastic targets to use. On. Most of the time in these situations, you're facelessing your opponent's move.
Yeah. In our sessions, I was faceless manipulating my opponent's Ahmed because that's how desperate I was to have semblance of board control.
Yeah. But
Silence is the backbreaker, though. Silence is what really beats his deck. TJ had silence every single game. And I lost every single game. We played 6 games in a row, and I wasn't even close. I don't even think I hit your life total one time.
So while I did say that my win rate on ladder against Priest was slightly above 50%, if my opponent had silence like before turn 6, it was a 0% win rate.
Yes, I don't think that you can win versus silence because that fundamentally disassembles your deck.
It does. Usually you win by making this giant minion that they have to trade all their minions into inefficiently and eventually faces it. But if that doesn't happen, you lose.
Yep, and it looks like Fr0zen has gotten there. And, to be clear...
He can face us the Ahmet.
Yeah, he can face us the Ahmet.
And then make a big mech and taunt it. So you face us the Ahmet, next turn you go War Gear, and then the next turn you go Bronze Gatekeeper. If you dodge Inner Fire, you're cooking. But he's just going to trade in. Now it's at 9 health, and he can kill the War Gear on board. Faces the Ahmet again.
Does it turn into a 2-9 though?
It would turn into a 2-9.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Bronze Gatekeeper does end up dying. Gotcha. Okay.
I wonder.
I think you still War Gear just to get a better Kangors.
I wonder.
Yeah, I'm not really seeing too much here. I think War Gear might be solid. I think Bronze Gatekeeper has some merit too.
To protect the Ahmet?
Yeah.
Must move quickly.
But then the mech that died... I guess the
You
mech...
can also hero.
Yeah, the problem with Silence is that it doubles up. Because he invested all this into one minion, which was a vanilla Galvanizer at the end of it. Which means Kangors right now will 7 mana summon a 1/2 mech.
Job done.
One zombie. All right. Yeah, the moment Fr0zen picks up.
Oh yeah, he hadn't drawn any 1-drops this game.
Yeah, the moment he gets this in, that's gonna be lights out.
Yeah. Mech Paladin, I give a mighty salute to you. You fought valiantly.
Interesting series of trade decisions here from Fr0zen. Instead of killing off the board, he bumps the 2/9 Amet with just his Wild Pyromancer that's at, you know, a 3/12. So obviously he's not going to be doing that much, but by restricting the amount of health that's capable of being played, he's still counting the damage being dealt. And right now he has 16 on board. So
I wonder.
are they still showing that this is my featured match? Okay. The 16 damage on board is represented by the amount of powers on the opposite side. So good trades here from PNC. PNC has to play a taunt this turn. He can play the Skater bot first at the rush, then magnetize on top of it.
I wonder.
Because the Skater bot has the least amount of stats. Skater bot will be a 1/6, and then it'll become an 8/13.
Must move quickly.
Let you do some stuff.
Yeah, it's just a.
Oh, it gets stats both ways.
Well, it's still a miss.
No, it magnetizes. It gains the stats from Amet before.
So it's a 8/12 regardless.
I think so.
Yeah. No, it is because it gains the stats before.
Yeah.
I'd honestly never seen that.
Good knowledge.
Because usually when you face this Ahmet in our matchups, I'd kill you the next turn.
Yeah. I've only faced this Ahmet as a desperation, and I never was able to do anything out of that.
Yeah.
That was going to do it for game number 1. Fr0zen with a double extra arms, going to wrap it up here.
Yep.
And, I mean, you saw what happens with the one silence play.
Though, imagine how that game would have gone if Fr0zen didn't draw the silence.
Yeah.
PNC runs away with that game pretty easily because he had faceless on his giant mechs. So
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying.
As soon
I
as you-
personally think that the Mech Paladin isn't here to kill the priest. I think it's I'm going to beat things that's not the priest.
yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree with that. But I think that the matchup is one-sided regardless of how you look at it. So whenever one side wins, it looks like that deck is an overwhelming favorite. Especially Priest. I do think Priest is favorite, but I don't think, like, looking at that game, especially considering there's only one silence in the deck. So the odds that you draw that silence, even if you're hard mulliganing it before turn 5, is like 40-something%. That's if you hard mulligan for it. If you don't hard mulligan for it, it's in the 30s. So, but you can tell if Priest gets an inch, just an inch, which can happen by drawing silence or by the Paladin just drawing dead, which it can do because of Glowstone Technician, because of Faceless, then that'll happen. But Priest is favored.
All right, we're going to take a break. And our final break
Not
of the
against
day.
me, though.
We'll be right back.
Rising again, darker than they've ever been. As evil descends from the skies, the world cries out, how will we survive? Out of the hall of explorers, and up from the dusty tomb, they grab their whips and fedoras. These legends of the past know exactly what to do. There might be magic monsters, mummies in the market. Mysticism. There should be scorching deserts, adventure, monster of narcissism. High stakes, think annihilation, obliteration of civilization. Now is the time to be brave. Evil's come to enslave, but this league's gonna save the world.
My name is Sam Braithwaite, and I'm the Senior Global Franchise Lead for Hearthstone Esports. This event was especially cool because it takes place right after the brand new expansion, Rise of Shadows. Historically in Hearthstone Esports, we do our big events like this towards the end of an expansion cycle, but we really wanted to shake things up and really showcase that not only is the world champion the person who can pilot the best decks, but also the person who, when presented with a brand new game, can put together the best decks leading into the world championship. Cheers to you guys, the sold-out crowd here for the HCT 2019 World Championship.
Welcome back to 2019 HCT World Championship.
We've had a lot of fun games, and we're looking forward to the grand finals. Showdown. Viper versus Hunter Ace. Only one can be the champion. Oh, come on!
Match be dead.
Wacko pick a Vince coming out from Hunter Ace.
It's now or never. Archvillain reform.
Okay! In a completely solved game, Hunter Ace finds a way to maximize his chances. It's been a wonderful journey throughout the past few years of the Hearthstone Championship Tour, where stars were made and dreams came true.
PNC needs this win. He is struggling in the standings. Him and fellow Latin American player Race, bottom of Division B at 2-6 right now, and a loss here would put him in dubious Oasis Snapjaw territory at 2-7, or very topically, High Priest of Met.
Yeah. RDU tweeted out a picture of Oasis Snapjaw. He missed the opportunity to tweet a High Priest of Met. I think that would have been.
Well, he's playing like a
more.
common card player, you know.
That's
not
true.
quite at the legendary
It's not quite at the legendary status.
Yeah.
But also one thing we want to point out is the graphic at the beginning of the matchup was wrong. PNC actually protected Warrior and not Paladin.
Right.
He did play Paladin in game one, but the Warrior was protected at the end of the day.
Minor brain fart. Sometimes you associate, you hear that he's going to first queue Paladin, you think, oh wait, he said protect Paladin. That's not the case. So we're fixing that so that way people can understand what actually went down. And the second thing is we're clarifying because we don't want to make you think that PNC decided to switch his protect halfway through.
No. And we definitely don't want people to assume that he would protect Mech Paladin. Whew. Dodged one there.
I mean, so very quickly, TJ, pop quiz. Has Mech Paladin ever been protected?
Yes. In Season 1 of Grandmasters.
In Season 2, has it been protected at all?
No. It's only been brought... Wait, did Strifecrow protected last week? Because we've only seen one.
It's been protected twice.
Okay,
and it's both in Asia Pacific.
Okay.
It was done by Blitzchung during week 2, and and Shaxi, who brought a Mech Paladin aggro warrior lineup.
Same as Strifecrow.
Same as Strifecrow. But I believe Strifecrow protected as Hunter, if I can recall correctly. Let me look it up real quick.
Yeah.
He did protect his Hunter.
Yep. I think it was also protected in Season 1.
Season 1 was specialist, TJ. Every deck you brought was a protect.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
All right. All right. Going into game number 2.
No, he definitely protected it in Season 1. That's 100% correct. He protected it in Season 1.
Well, Murloc Paladin's been protected, and Mech Paladin's been banned a couple times, but mainly Asia Pacific has been the respect for the protect.
Why did I think that? Am I thinking like week 1 and 2 was Season 1?
It could be. Because Season 1, TJ, if you recall correctly, was all Warrior Mirrors.
No, it wasn't. There was 1 week right after the Rise of the Mechs patch where there was a lot of Mech Paladin. But why did I think Mech Paladin?
There was one Mech Paladin of Strife.
Why did I think Mech Paladin was protected in the Conquest phase by somebody? Maybe I'm thinking of Murloc Paladin. I don't know.
Murloc Paladin was protected a couple
Yeah,
times.
and I'm all over the place right now.
But Murloc Paladin wasn't protected in Americas either, TJ.
That moment where you think that an entire season was a different format than it actually was. I guess my brain just went into defensive mode and just tried to protect itself from the fact that specialists existed and warrior mirrors existed.
No tune can hold me.
PTSD is a very strong force.
Tune can hold me.
This early mech gets shut down by the Restless Mummy as PNC's early Magnetize and Snip Snap gets thwarted. It's funny that you remember that because Murloc Paladin has only been protected in Asia Pacific and Europe by like Silver Name and all of them.
Holy Wrath Paladin's been protected.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah. But even
TJ
then,
TJ's actually, I believe, it's safe to say that he might be the only commentator that watches all 3 regions. Admiral and Sato do watch a lot of Americas. We watch a lot of Europe.
I would say I only watch about half of Asia Pacific.
Right, but you still are watching all 3.
Yeah, and it's, yeah.
And good for you.
It's just really hard to keep up with all 3.
It is hard. It's a lot of content.
Europe shares the most similarities with Americas. I think our deck crossover is more similar, so I think it's more beneficial, but also with how much time we have to spend on other things and preparing for our own region, you know, watching 50+ hours of Hearthstone on top of the, you know, 20+ sometimes that we cast.
Well, and getting sleep.
Yeah, that doesn't exist. But doing all
Grandmasters is on like 18 hours a day.
I know. But doing that also makes you think for some reason that Specialist didn't exist in Season 1. So.
PNC has an opportunity to press in here with the war gear. I think it is worth hesitating to think if you want to set up a second mechanical egg.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what we're going for here, though.
Yep.
The thing is, if you war gear and your opponent silences with the Spellbreaker, very important tech, by the way, in Fr0zen's deck. Just do it again. And it doesn't matter if the death rattle triggers, right? I mean, it does in the sense that you don't get the 8. But if they silence your egg, you can magnetize it, and when it dies, it comes back with the death rattle that Kangor's Endless Army has summoned.
Yes.
So Fr0zen might be tempted to Spellbreaker this. But PNC has deliberately not pushed a little bit extra damage because he knows it's much more important to play the long game.
Your magic shall not save you.
Obviously not happy to see it, of course.
Yeah.
But like we're saying, he's got plans.
It just shut down his pressure, and you know you could have all the value in the world, and eventually Warrior just assembles enough pieces to kill whatever you play. Fr0zen is playing a kind of I don't want to call it a removal light version because it still packs a ton of removal, but there's players that this week that have brought you know, Warrior decks that are pretty much all card draw and removal, and not even Luciana, like Eddie, for example. He does have the Armageddon, the Taunt package. He does have Archivist Luciana. He only has 1 Plague of Wrath, only 1 Omega Devastator, so it is lighter on removal than other versions of Control Warrior in the current metagame.
Yeah, I don't think if I'm PNC, I wouldn't be too discouraged. I think I maybe just slam another one here and go face here. Trade into the 4-3. I don't know if I want to invest too much into a second mech here because of the threat of Super Collider.
Protocol 7.
I might not even hero power if I'm PNC.
Yeah, not really any reason to. Also, Galvanizer, unless you're magnetizing onto it, you don't want to put that into the pool.
What an insane draw here.
Oh, yeah.
What a ridiculous draw. He says Celiax and Tomb Warden buffed, and he has the Snip Snap on top of it.
He was most likely playing Armageddon that turn anyway, which just makes Ziliax like even more nuts of a draw. Still a lot of game left to play though. PNC, a ton of tools at his disposal to try and keep his resources up.
Yeah, I'm thinking about if PNC wants to play Prismatic Lens before Crystology. And the idea is that you want to manipulate Prismatic Lens to give yourself a really cheap Kangors so that you can pick the right time to play it for big tempo swings. But the thing is, Crystology can pick up cards that aren't 1 mana cost too. There's Glotrons, there's Scattered Bots, there's Galvanizers. And the most important thing is that you get Galvanizers so that you can make all of them super cheap. I think in PNC's mind, he wants to kill this Armageddillo. This should get his Glotron or his Skaterbot.
Access denied.
Interesting.
There is merit in kind of protecting his Galvanizer here because he wants his Galvanizer to die with Magnetics on it to not clog up his Kangor's Endless Army pool with just a vanilla Galvanizer.
Yeah, but he didn't have to play the Galvanizer.
No, he didn't have to.
That's the only part that I'm confused about. I guess because he wants to attack into it? He wants him to attack into it so that he gets his life total down. And now Fr0zen has the Snip Snap and the Ziliax combination.
Did he think he had mana for Restless Mummy? He moused over it at first. I'm not 100% sure.
Ooh, you might be right.
Because otherwise, this Ziliax play is...
It's kind of weak.
It's kind of weak because...
It's also vulnerable to, like... If he doesn't attack, it's vulnerable to Faceless.
Yeah, and it 1-for-1 this 7/10.
Oh boy. Whew. So PNC could trade the 7/3 in and set up a Kangors this turn of some capacity.
That's pretty weak.
That is very weak. So instead, he can set up something else. He can play... Maybe a Prismatic Lens in this situation is actually not that bad.
Oof.
Move quickly.
Galvanizer that died also makes his Kangors a lot worse. On average.
Yes.
Because it has the potential for another 1/2 coming back.
Yep.
PNC just plays the egg and passes. That's got to feel real bad here.
And another Galvanizer that's by itself to add to the pool. Oh, man.
I don't know about these Galvanizers.
Yeah, because now his pool is this big egg that he had die. And then 2 Galvanizers. Oh, but he's not killing this Galvanizer. He wants to dictate the trades himself to line up for Omega Devastator next turn.
Well, we saw that the Prismatic Lens, the Galvanizer came down for 1, not 7.
So it's a 100% a Blessing of Wisdom. Because you've seen
both
Crystologies.
Right.
I wonder.
Unless he wasn't tracking right and thought that that was reduced by Galvanizer. But that's very unlikely. Fr0zen usually a player that's on top of that stuff.
Let me think.
So, one thing that PNC could do is Skaterbot, trade in the egg, and then try to go for a Kangors and resurrect it. and then magnetize after the fact. Well, this guarantees that he gets a 1/2 back. Oh wait, I forgot about the microbots.
The microbots as well.
Ah, that's maybe another reason why they traded the egg. I don't know about this. I think you have to invest a little bit more before you go into it. At the same time, I kind of get where PNC's thinking, which is like he felt like he needs the egg to land now.
This doesn't feel like peak Mech Paladin performance, Dan.
No, and I really don't like it.
Yeah. In this is one of those matchups where you really have to be conscious of what mechs are dying.
Exactly.
Because Kangor's is very crucial.
Yeah, I mean, you did get one back, which is reasonably sized. But,
Now you can hold me.
yeah, I don't know. I think what he's trying to do is make it more resilient against Brawl, make it resilient against Warpaths, even somewhat resilient against Plague of Wrath. But by doing all of that, he's made it pretty bad to just normal tempo play.
Yeah, he's gonna just die.
Now he's just out-tempoed. He's playing a tempo deck, and he's getting out-tempoed by one of the slowest decks that's in the meta.
Yeah.
I think that's probably like one. I think Fr0zen had a really good hand, right, for dealing with certain stuff like the Spellbreaker and whatnot. But PNC like kind of played into that slow pace.
Yeah.
And then rushed when he didn't need to.
He slowed down when he could have sped up, and he sped up when he could have slowed down.
Right. That being said, when your opponent plays 2 5/8 Tomb Wardens, that's a really scary time. So
Yeah.
I've been on the receiving end of Tomb Wardens.
Converting stored energy.
Not really a fun experience. It's a very powerful card. I don't blame PNC again for making those moves. I just wonder whether or not he could have just chosen a different alternative.
All right, so we're all in on this egg.
Right.
Blessing of Wisdom, draw a card, 15 health.
Needs it to be Face's Manipulator.
I mean, there's 6, 11. He has enough damage on board to answer it. He could just trade all of his minions into it. And now he has the Shield Slam.
The 8/8 afterwards. Don't think Fr0zen has to acknowledge it too much, but it's probably better to do it just to avoid Face's Manipulator from killing you.
Yep.
Trade. PNC. Oh, okay. So Face's Manipulator and Glowstone Technician do not synergize well together because a transform effect does not impact its actual stat line.
Magic neutralized.
Mega Assembly, by the way, getting 2 class cards for Fr0zen. That's gonna do it. PNC is super dead. Explodinator and double Warpath is gonna close us out.
Yep.
And Fr0zen's gonna 2-0 PNC. The Mech Paladin falling real flat. And to be fair, TJ, this has been my experience.
This is BM.
You just realized it!
Oh, jeez.
The victory
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Alright, well, that's going to do it. Fr0zen improves his record. And PNC's troubles continue as he is now 2-7 and still in danger of relegation.
Yeah.
I don't think Mech Paladin's that bad of a deck, but after yesterday's games today, yesterday in practice, watching it today, and even just thinking about how things could have been slightly different, I think this deck struggles a lot. I think it overperforms on ladder, and I think it underperforms in tournaments.
I do think it is deceptively difficult to play, though. when to go all in, what to magnetize on. Every minion that you play has a secondary effect of also being a buff.
And it's also a huge punish for being wrong.
And it's a massive punish for being wrong, and it's a massive punish for playing around the wrong card. It's a very punishing deck to play, and because it's similar to Priest, where if you lose the board, your ability to come back is non-existent, that you make one wrong move, and that's kind of the end of it. And with Kangor's Endless Army, you have all these small mechs that you don't want to have in the pool in matchups where it's crucial. And you even have Snip Snap, which makes that harder because you're always going to have microbots that die as well when you play that. So it's difficult, and I think that outside of like one game from Strife Crow, we haven't seen it at its top level.
That's right. So that's going to be it for that series. Fr0zen's going to join us for a brief interview to wrap up the day. I think we're trying to get him set up. So let's go ahead and check in. Fr0zen, are you there?
Yo, what's up?
Nice. So we're not going to talk about that last play of that series.
Yeah. I saw it afterwards.
Got it.
That's not good.
Extended BM. And I was like, wow, he's really taking a victory lap here. So going into this series here, you were facing a very unconventional lineup in PNC. Did that scare you at all, or do you feel confident against that?
It scared me a little bit because I wasn't too familiar with the decks, but luckily my practice partners play a lot. So shout out to San and Muzzy for giving me all the stats and stuff. And but the thing is, I think he himself was not very comfortable on the Paladin, because that's like not how we expected the matchup to go versus Warrior. Because usually I thought you would just hold everything and just keep drawing cards and play late. And when he played the minion, I thought I had a really good chance of winning, because he couldn't, like, if I clear them, then the Kangors will be really weak. Especially when he played the Snip Snap, I was actually kind of shocked. And then the first game where he combined the Galvanizer instantly, and I think that was just not good because I can't clear it anyways, and it basically, the 0-mana 1/3 could be applied anytime. So it gave me a lot of information on his hand, and it gave me a lot of information on what he could do, like what he's trying to do. So I really thought that he had the 2/4 in his hand.
The Noya module,
yeah. That's why I went with like the slower play where I healed everything and I didn't get greedy. Where like say he plays one card onto it and then I get the silence. So everything worked out as planned, and I'm really happy that I got the win.
Definitely. I think that was something that TJ and I were bringing up, which was we're accustomed to watching people play Mech Paladin as like a curve deck, but it's also an opportunity to go for like giant swings. And it feels like a lot of the Mech Paladin players have stuck to just playing it on curve a lot, even almost to a fault, because like you said, he was like squeezing in plays somewhat a little bit necessarily, which kind of revealed his hand, and then forced into a very linear corner where like you can just play around it, and then he's like, well, I can't do anything after that.
Exactly.
In practice, because ours wasn't that valuable as Dan
we had some pretty bad practice because TJ started with Cleric on one every game.
What did Paladin versus the Mech Paladin versus Priest look like in general? Do you think that Paladin can have a good game against that deck if they are kind of greedy with their mechs and play it slower?
Not versus Priest. I think versus Priest that matchup's just slightly unfavored. But versus Warrior, I don't think the Warrior ever won in practice, so.
Interesting.
Wow.
Never won in practice. Crushes him on the first game they play. Really nice stuff. You mentioned that you're practicing with Sane and Muzzy. Is it just them two specifically, or because they also talked about practicing with European players? Kind of wanted.
Yeah, mostly Sane. I almost brought the deck that Hunter Ace brought for his Druid, or not Druid, his Warrior. I almost. We were discussing like techs we could run, and there was like a bunch of cool things that we thought of, and I think he nailed it at the end with the 7-mana 3/3 plus the Spellword Jeweler. So I was like, all right, I gotta copy your list. But then I looked at my opponents, and I really didn't think that they were gonna bring Malagos Druid, so it kind of invalidated the deck. Like I already submitted it, but last like 30 minutes I changed because. I didn't expect my opponents to be playing Malagos Druid, and I thought they were going to play something more more aggro against me. And then those cards are kind of bad. And also, I thought that they were going to play some greedy control warriors just to counter me. So
That makes sense.
that went poorly because both my opponents brought Malagos Druid.
So the theory behind that is you the turn before they go off with Malagos, you Azalina and Spellward Jeweler, and then kill them instead.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
That's pretty dope. All right, so definitely a lot more to look forward to. You're going up against Monsanto, and I believe the winner of that is going to be challenging for Just Saying for the second place / first place in division. Your consistency is pretty remarkable here. Is there any commentary you want to make about like the division, how they're shaking up, or going up against Monsanto later this weekend?
Not too much. I think I still have the highest win rate in GM. Maybe Hunter Ace is catching up.
Probably.
But we'll see. We'll see if Hunter Ace can break my season record of 12-2.
Yeah,
he's on pace, but
well,
he's still got to win a lot.
Yeah, he's 7-2 right now, right?
Did he lose today?
Earlier today?
That was when we were getting ready.
Yeah, we're on a delay, so we don't actually get to watch the last
few series.
I
think he
last
won,
game
so
of
he's
last series.
8-1.
Okay, he's 8-1. He looked behind.
Of course he did, TJ. He had Azalina Salty and Spellward Jeweler. Come on.
It's cool.
All right. Well, Fr0zen, congratulations. We'll see you later this weekend as the last matchup against Monsanto. We'll see if you can keep your streak alive, so that way Hunter Ace has a lot more to work for.
All right. Thank you, guys. See ya.
All right. So with that, we're done, TJ. We kept our end of the deal. We kept the day nice and short, succinct.
Yeah, APAC did not.
APAC did not, but thankfully everything worked out A-okay. And let's go ahead and recap what went down today. We started off with Muzzy quick 2-0 over the Crow. And Strife Crow definitely struggling with the standings. But he was able to stay one game ahead of ETC, who also dropped to purple, but that was after Monsanto took down Zalay in what I thought was actually a billing worth the featured matchup. It was a lot of fun. The end of the series was pretty chaotic. Zalay almost had this ridiculous Grifta out against the OTK Paladin, but alas, it was not meant to be.
Not meant to be. ETC continues to struggle, losing 2-0 to purple. Some rough plays in there. Eddie taking the 2 over Gallant. They were tied in the standings before coming into today, so Eddie getting a lead over him in the standings. And then Fr0zen taking the 2 over PNC, showing his consistency, and PNC showing that, you know, his struggles may continue. It's rough. It's rough.
Yeah, and in fact, tomorrow, TJ, the fated showdown, ETC versus Strife Crow, and I argue that if ETC loses this, that could be his season.
He would have 4 matches left, and it'd be 2 full matches behind Strife Crow.
That is really tough. So
that's a big one. That is a huge matchup.
Fr0zen's featured match of the day.
Wait, Gallon versus Purple. That's also a good one because...
That's also my featured match
All
of the
right,
day.
can we make a TJ's featured matchup for ETC? Or Fr0den's TJ's featured matchup.
No, TJ's Fr0den featured
TJ's
matchup.
Fr0den featured matchup is ETC versus Strife Crow.
Yeah, and then our actual featured match, Firebat versus Nalgadon.
Yeah, we have a lot of... I mean, it's Super Saturday.
This
so I
is
understand.
a Super Saturday for the ages, because we also have former teammates on Archon, Amnesiac and Zalay playing in match 4. We have the top and the bottom of Saiyan versus Race, right? Saiyan protecting his lead for #1 seed. Race going to be fighting for a relegation spot because he and PNC are both fighting. Every single match, TJ, has a storyline. PNC and Race both trying to get out of relegation.
Production can't keep up. Every matchup should be a featured.
Yeah, TJ's Fr0den's featured match.
Yep. And then we have Fr0den's featured matchup, and then we have just our actual featured matchup.
And then match 2 and 3 with the relegation, match 4 with a playoff spot on the line because Amnesiac with a win there cements himself. Loving it. Sometimes I just kind of wish that the season started at week 5 because you just have the drama already start setting up.
You randomly place players in standings. Just randomly assign them records.
It's basically Hearthstone Grandmasters roleplay. You
Yeah.
just assume a position that is given to you and you have to play out your role.
And then the players are just also assigned who they are. So they're not actually playing under their name unless they're randomly assigned.
I'm actually Zalay in Amnesiac's body. All right, well, that wraps up Friday here for Hearthstone Grandmasters. It's been a wonderful set of games. If you missed any part of the broadcast, make sure to check out playhearthstone.com/esports for the deck list, for the schedules, and to find out who is the featured match of the day. We're done here from Fr0zen, TJ, and everyone here in Studio 5 in Burbank, California. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time for more featured matches.